Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Parlay Show with Bet99. Look who's back.
Bobby Conway back in the building.
It's Rob Conway. That is right. That is me. I'm back from the West Coast. Had a fantastic time out there. We're going to get into that in a second, but we got tons to talk about. The U.S. Open we're going to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about the NBA Draft with Noor Zainab in our third segment, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the NHL silly season, the Jays. But it's been a fantastic few days away for me, but I'm really excited here to be back in studio with you, Albert, and of course with our former NHLer. I was going to say NHL guru. I do this every time.
Well, yes, and NHL.
He is an NHL guru, but betting guru. It's actually probably more accurate. You're more of an NHL guru than a betting guru, if you ask me.
We should give him a standing ovation.
Let's go. Matthew Barnaby, looking ready like he's going to tee off any second right now. Barney, how you doing, my man?
I'm good. I know who Albert is. I don't know who you are anymore. I kind of forgot you. And it's funny you say that, NHL guru. I remember when I was going through my divorce and I was arguing, and I was an analyst with ESPN and NHL guru. She's like, "You think you know it all about hockey?" I'm like, "Well, I played 15 years in the NHL. I played with a lot of the greats. I think I know a lot about it." So, yeah, you're kind of like my ex-wife, except for I just don't write you a check on the first of every month.
You can start.
No. No, okay.
Yeah, no. So I want to talk a little bit before we get into the show. I was out west.
Let's hear the real stories, by the way.
Yeah, UFC 289 out there with Georges St. Pierre, ambassador for Bet99. Had a fantastic time. He is unbelievable. No one draws fans like Georges St. Pierre. The guy he's retired. Doesn't even fight anymore. And, we were out there. Every single event we had was absolutely packed, sold out. He released a vodka out there called Persang, and it was at the BC liquor store. And the day before, Dana White had his whiskey with Valentina Shevchenko. They did like 250 bottles. They're all excited. BC Liquor was, because there was a new record. George came, absolutely smashed the record, 500 bottles or something like that. He was there for 2.5 hours straight, just signing autographs nonstop. Unbelievable experience to be in, the city where a UFC event is happening and being with the biggest icon of the sport, at the very least in this country, and quite frankly, maybe of all time. And it was a lot of fun out there. Weather was great. And then I did head over to Kelowna, though, and I wanted to get your guys' thoughts. All of us golf. We're all golfers. You were down at the Canadian Open last week. Beautiful golf course in Oakdale. But I had the opportunity, Barney, you've golfed all around the world as well, to play a golf course in Kelowna. It's called The Rise, and I have a couple clips here. The Rise is 1,000 feet above the Okanagan. All right. And so you're hitting shots that are just into these beautiful vistas. And I've played now in Arizona. I've played in Australia. I've played in Scotland, played Florida golf, and all the nicest courses in Ontario. Been very lucky with that. But that was the most beautiful golf. I've never played in Banff, but that was the most beautiful golf course I've ever played.
Tough course too?
It was. I mean, it was a Fred Couples design. If you played from the Boom Boom Tees, which is his nickname, we did not. It's like 6,900, but it doesn't matter. It could have been a par 3. It's just the most beautiful spot you've ever been. So I wanted to ask you guys, Barney, what's the best golf in the world for you?
Wow. I played so many. I was just talking with my wife yesterday. Probably the best course I've ever played is Pine Valley in New Jersey. And arguably, some people have it ranked number 1 in the world. Some people have it number 2 behind Augusta. I would think Augusta is better, but it was an amazing spot. Played it one day when I was playing with New York. It was only about an hour from downtown New York. So Pine Valley was incredible. Old Head in Ireland. What a place that was. It was 80 and sunny when I played it, so it wasn't particularly tough, but like 500 cliff drops, and it probably makes Pebble Beach look like a pitch and putt, just the way it is designed, just in the cliffs, but not as hard as a Pebble Beach for sure. So those are two of the best. But I've been very fortunate to play, Oak Hill and Winged Foot, and a lot of great courses out there. What's underrated golf courses just in the surrounding area is New York. So many great ones. Sabonic, Shinnecock, the National.
That's
so I've been fortunate to be able to play a lot and throw up some pretty big scores at all of them.
Yeah, you got lots of shots in.
Right? I get my money's worth.
Listen, you want to get your money's worth, right? It's your dollar per shot. What about you?
Those
Where
are incredible courses.
I
play a lot of munis, like
Yeah.
like shitty courses over here. But
Yeah.
the best course I've ever played was Crowbush in Prince Edward Island.
Beautiful. And I played that too.
I think I shot 300 that day,
Doesn't
but
matter.
didn't even matter. Right on the ocean. It was gorgeous. The people, the hospitality, everything was fantastic. I would say Crowbush top of the list. At one point, I think it was the best golf course, or rated the best golf course in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I want to play, and I've heard it's unbelievable. I'm supposed to be going to PEI, but I think I have to cancel that. And I was going to play Crowbush. I never played it, but I heard it's amazing, Albert. But I definitely want to play before the year's out this year. Take a trip down, and I want to play Cabot Cliffs. I've heard Cabot's amazing.
I've heard the same thing.
First of all, PEI is awesome too.
Yeah, PEI, the island in the summer. Oh my goodness.
In the summer, it's great. Yeah. Yesterday, I was watching a thing on YouTube. Jim Nantz has a replica Pebble Beach golf hole in his backyard.
Yeah.
And then there was a clip of him playing 3 holes at Pebble Beach.
Yeah.
And just the way it was shot, I never saw it that way. They played like the loop.
Yeah.
That's top of the list for me. I think Pebble Beach,
and you can get on it. And like, that's the thing. Like, there are opportunities. A lot of the golf courses, that you see in major championship golf, like the one we just saw in LACC, you're not ever going to get an opportunity to get on there. I actually had someone I was teaching golf to ask me if I had ever played, any of the major championship. And I actually thought to myself, and I hadn't. I might, if my good friend Matthew Barnaby gets me on Oak Hill by the end of the year. But you can play, like, I played Glen Abbey, and I played Angus Glen, which is the Canadian ones, and I played TPC. You can play the stadium course out in Palm Springs. You can play Sawgrass. You can play Pebble Beach. You can play a lot of these courses, which is really cool because, I can go skate, I guess, at Scotiabank Arena, but it's not the same as, you know what I mean, Barney? Like, that's the one thing that's cool about golf. You get an opportunity to play the exact same place, not as far if you're smart, but the same course, same layout that these guys get to play on TV.
Yeah, $6.75 American you can get on Pebble Beach. They'll take your money any day of the week. Then you just got to pray for good weather. We are going to get on Oak Hill. I promise you that. And you know what? Another good one we did last summer was Muskoka Bay. What a track. What a beautiful place that was. And they were phenomenal hosts, but what a spot that was. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's true. And that's the thing. Like, it was so gorgeous, and you're in the Canadian Shield. There's all that stuff going on the trees. And that's the thing. Like, it's a nicer golf course than the Rise. Don't get me wrong, Muskoka Bay. It's nicer. It's better kept. It's harder. It's beautiful. But when you're from Toronto and you go to Muskoka every summer, it's just not that exciting.
No,
and then you go to the Rise.
Difference,
you're 5,000 feet above sea level, and you're playing the Rise. It's just it's a different beast. It's super cool. But it was a great weekend for golf. A lot of excitement, Barney. The U.S. Open, Wyndham Clark gets it done, holds on by 1 shot. Wanted to see Ricky Fowler get it done. Obviously, we were texting a bunch. Really was hoping that he was going to be able to do it. What a story that would have been. Or Rory, obviously hasn't won in 9 years. Right there, had a couple opportunities down the stretch. Just could not buy a putt. In the end, Barney, what was your synopsis of the LACC? I think there was more excitement about the fact that the Playboy Mansion was on the course than the excitement of the
Peacocks,
fans. It was just a shame that they couldn't get fired up for US Open, but nonetheless, the play on the course. What were your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I'd much rather go to the Playboy Mansion than go play LA Country Club. It held the test of the 4 days after shooting 8 under.
I know.
2 guys the first day to have the winner at 10 under. Really showed its teeth in being able to withstand, and weather sometimes does that. They were expecting different weather at the start, and they tore it up, and they didn't really trick it out. But all 3 guys, Clark, Fowler, who we were cheering for, and like you said, texting back and forth, or Rory, any 3 of those guys win it, and it's a great story. But how can't you be happy for a guy like Wyndham Clark and everything that he's went through with his mother, and it being Father's Day, all his family around, and not one of the top golfers in the world? Certainly, it was emotional. Anyone that didn't have a tear ready to come down their eye, and hearing them and watching them celebrate that victory, it was pretty awesome. And beautiful course. Some guys loved it. Some guys hated it. It usually seems that the guys that don't play well didn't like it. As for Brooks Koepka, but certainly a great week. And anytime it's a U.S. Open, a major, we're glued to the TV. So it was a great spectacle. 10 under. That's not what I thought after day one was going to win this. I thought we were going to be closer to 17, 18, 19. But it stood the test of time.
Yeah, Wyndham deserves a lot of credit. Let's not forget who he's going up against in that final round. Rory, Ricky, Scotty.
Yeah.
He was nails at the end there. That lag putt on 18, like that takes a lot of what to do that. So credit to him. And you're right, man. I got emotional watching the end there. Him talking about his mom. Even Ricky went up to him and said, if your mom was here, she'd be proud. That's such a touching moment. But as for the LACC, man, I mean, the next time it's going to be there is in 16 years, I think, 2039. They got to make some changes. Like, what about some grandstands? I know like the greens are close to each other and tee boxes and stuff, but you got to make it a better experience for fans. I think they allotted 22,000 tickets. Members and corporate took like 9,000 of that, and a lot of members didn't even show up. And so you're not going to have that same type of atmosphere. Even Matt Fitzpatrick, who won the U.S. Open last year, he said the same thing. He goes, I wish the crowd was louder. And watching it was really missing that. Even the rush to the green at the end seemed a little, I don't know.
Yeah, you're not wrong. If you're going to be a golf club like LACC that is super exclusive, lots of high, end members, no celebrities, but you have to buy into the whole thing. You can't just be like, okay, great, we'll have you. You can play our golf course, but you can't have grandstands, and you can't have tons of fans. You can't have this and that, because that's what makes it. Otherwise, forget it. Don't open your golf course.
There was a report that members were actually upset because of the foot traffic and damaging the course.
Of course they would be. That's gonna happen.
But that's insane that the members have that much power. The USGA, like, if there's any losers in this past week, it's the USGA.
We're going to go
first of all, 10 over, which never really happens. I don't remember last time that happened at US Open.
10 under. Yeah.
10 under. Sorry, 10 under.
Yeah.
And then you have the members taking control of a major on the PGA Tour.
We're going to go play, hopefully, Oak Hill this year. Like, there will still be damage. It rained so much, and they had so much walking. There'll be tons of damage.
It is,
But that's part of the deal. You want people to come to your golf course and expose it, then that's part of the deal. You're sitting on land that's in North America, the second most valuable land for houses that has not been built on, only behind Central Park, which I don't think there's enough money in the entire world combined in order to buy all of Central Park to put houses on there. So you guys, I understand this is your you don't need money. You're about golf. You're about the exclusivity. Then don't have the U.S. Open. Just don't have it. It's okay.
Listen, they're rich assholes when it comes down to.
Yeah.
I don't want celebrities. I don't want athletes. I don't want this. I don't want that. It's just our club. It's a bunch of rich assholes that don't know how to support a U.S. Open. I've been to 3 U.S. Opens. I went to see my buddy Chris Nalen, who's actually coming in town in a month to play. I went to see him in Pinehurst, went to see him at Bethpage Black, and I went to see him at Wingfoot. Phenomenal experiences. Listen, I'd rather watch on TV that's just who I am, because I like to watch the replays and all that. But man, they were loud, and it was fun, and there was cheering. Not like we saw. I'd much rather go watch the Waste Management any day of the week.
Than
watch it at LA Country Club.
100%. The sad truth is even though Wyndham Clark won the thing and he was the underdog, that'll probably be one of the most forgettable majors in recent history.
Yep.
No one's going to be like, hey, remember that time Wyndham won it at the LACC? They'll be like, no, remember the LACC was a shitty venue?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Well, speaking of golf courses, you're allowed to play. Pinehurst #2 is hosting it next year. Should be a lot more fun. And you can always head down to play that anytime. I need to get that on the bucket list. Royal Liverpool up next, the final major of the year. And Tiger Woods will not be there, unfortunately. But who will be there? Not in person, but us 3 watching, because we love golf, and it won't really matter who's playing. And we're going to
I thought you were going to drop some news on us and you said that Bet99 was going to fly us up
Bet99, the Parlay Show, headed to Royal Liverpool.
Hop on the private bird and let's go.
Greenside on 18, along with Brandel Chambly and all the other guys, live from the Open Championship with the Parlay and Bet99. Nope, that's not happening, but we will have a lot of fun covering it when it comes up next month. But we got to still talk about a little bit of the NHL and a little bit of Blue Jays. But we'll take a break right now here on the Parlay Show and Bet99. All right, welcome back to the Parlay Show with Bet99. I'm Rob Conway, Albert Vartanian alongside, and of course, Matthew Barnaby is joining us as well. Let's get into a little bit of the NHL, and it is the silly season. We'll talk a little bit more about the NBA with Noor Zainab in just a minute, but let's talk about what's coming up in the draft. It's a little bit farther away than the NBA one, but obviously, just like the NBA, we know who's going number 1. But is there any expectation for you, Barney, of, is Fantilli, going 2? I mean, that's always up to what teams kind of select. But do you think there's going to be any surprises, any big trades, any movement in that way? Or are we just going to basically see the board run down the way it looks right now?
I'm not going to get into specifics with teams, but I certainly do think there's always a trade that especially in this cap era where people are trying to shed money and all of that. And teams want to listen. Everyone wants to move up. I think if you look at the top 5 prospects, pretty good. You have Bedard, then Fantilli. Fantilli is going to be a phenomenal prospect. And I haven't watched all the prospects because I watch so many other sports during the year now, so I don't really watch the prospects like I used to, but I did watch Fantilli a lot this year. We all saw Bedard, what he can do. But I do expect some trades to happen on draft day and leading up to draft day. But I also think Fantilli is going to be a stud. What he did in Michigan this year, this guy's big, he's strong, he's the ultimate power forward. So I think they're going to get very lucky at getting Fantilli at 2, even though Bedard is the prize of the draft.
Let me ask you a quick question here. Now you bring up Fantilli and Michigan. Your son plays in the ECHL, but if he was 10 years younger and was coming up and he had an option to do anything he really wanted, are you of the belief now that playing university hockey, especially if you're not going to go number 1 overall guaranteed, but you can, if you're good enough and you end up in Michigan, you can still get drafted at a really high spot, but also if you don't, you're going to get your education. Is that the route you'd think that you'd be sending your son if he was like, say, 15, 16 right now?
I've always said if you're a legit first rounder in the NHL, go play major junior hockey.
Okay.
Because you're only going to be one and done and you're gone to the NHL. So the education isn't going, not that it doesn't matter. It's a backup plan for players that might go 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, need more time to develop. But if you're a bona fide first rounder, go play in the Ontario Hockey League. Now, having said that, go to Michigan, go to North Dakota. My son was committed to Penn State. I mean, these are terrific programs. And yes, you can go 1st overall, you can go 2nd overall, you can go as high as you want playing in these programs. You're just playing against older guys for the most part. So a lot of guys that even go 1st overall or maybe aren't physically ready to play against guys that are, some guys are 25 playing in the NCAA, but it doesn't matter where you play. If you're a good enough player, the scouts are smart enough. And I know the head scout, Mike Donahue, who scouts for the Chicago Blackhawks, whether Connor Bedard played in Kazakhstan, in Regina, or in the backyard here, he'd be going number 1. So it's so different than it used to be. But if my son was a bona fide first rounder, I'd probably send him to the CHL as well.
How many points do you think Bedard gets this year in Chicago? I know there's not much there.
Yeah.
It's just going to be him. I'm sure they're going to bring somebody else in.
Yeah.
Maybe play with him or maybe protect him. I don't know. The enforcer role is kind of gone now, but maybe like a Barbashev. You never know. But anyway, how many points do you guys think he gets this season?
I would set the line at 65.5. If he plays every game, I mean, obviously.
Wow.
I think he'll get 66 points. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm probably in and around that same area. But I mean, based on the way he plays, did you see that combine thing that he did? Like he's in pretty good shape too.
I know, but it's not like the NBA where like someone has to score. You're going to score 80, 90 points every night. Like this team might be really, really, really bad. And
he might be the only one who can get points and score goals.
That's true.
Right?
Barn, what do you think?
Hey, I'm going under.
Okay.
Because I was thinking he's going to get 65 points.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, it's a good line.
Great line. Great line. All 3 of us are right in that number. So it's not like the Jets at 9.5. That goes way over. But 65 points, that's a great 65.5. I like it.
I got a question for you because you brought up the Jets. Did you actually press the bet button when you put your little Jets and Suns thing you tweeted out?
No. I haven't done it yet.
Okay, all right.
But I still have time. I still got a lot of time.
What? It's the Jets Suns parlay to both win the championships?
Yeah.
500 and 1,500. 1,000 pays, I think 102,000.
It's something like that, 110,000 or something.
Yeah.
Crazy number like that.
I think I'd have more faith probably in I was going to say the Jets winning the NFL.
Suns are plus 500. I mean, they got the big three.
We were just, we were talking about like this before the show, and it's like I think the Jets have the better. Like I agree, I think the Jets have the better chance than the Suns.
I don't know. You got to get through the just the AFC East, not the AFC.
Yeah,
like just to get through the AFC East, you got the Bills.
Yeah.
You got Miami that has a great offense. Is their defense good enough? Now they add Jalen Ramsey to it. I think the Patriots are going to be in 4th. Everyone's, oh my God, where does DeAndre Hopkins still go? You know, where does he end up? So then you got to talk about Cincinnati and Kansas City and Like it's going to be a war to get through the AFC East, but I will be at a few games, namely the first one of the year, Monday night against the Bills.
Yeah, the tougher one I think is definitely the Jets, because the Suns, they have to get past Denver, that's difficult. But I think it's more doable than the Jets getting out of the AFC. And then you have to play who in the East in the NBA? Milwaukee, Boston, with Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. Who knows who else they're going to bring in there? Yeah. It's a good bet. I mean, considering the money you're going to get paid for it. I mean, if your team wins, and think about if the Jets do win the Super Bowl, probably got a pretty good cash out option too before the end of the NBA season.
That's true. You might be, but we don't hedge, right? We don't hedge.
Oh, we no hedge?
We know.
Every team no hedge?
Nah.
If it's
60 grand,
I was gonna say if there's 100, if there's 110K on the
table, when you change that number, dude, it's time to hedge.
Yeah. I think that's possible. You know what? There's one place I really want to be and absolutely do not want to be anywhere near is Barney and his buddy Fred on Monday night at Game 1 for Buffalo and New York. I want to be like a drone watching it, because if I'm there, it's going to be a disaster. But we'll have to
post the video. We'll have to post the video of him last year slamming an NHL prospect through a table at the 36 Open. Buffalo Mafia style.
Yeah. Which, by the way, the 36 Open is coming up soon in August. All right, we've got off topic there. NHL, look, there's a lot to talk about in the NHL. We'll quickly with just your thoughts on the OEL buyout. And my favorite thing when I go on Twitter and I see the top searched buyouts on Cap Friendly, and it's always Matt Murray for Toronto Maple Leafs. But any buyouts you expect to see, and how good do you feel if you're Oliver Ekman-Larsson right now?
Oh my God, there's no place I'd rather be than be that overpaid guy that here's $19 million, don't come to work.
Yeah.
Like, how awesome. Does it get any better than that? Okay, I'm going to the golf course. It's funny you brought up Matt Murray. I have him written down here too. $690,000 would cost him for 23-24, $2 million in 25, but the cap will go up. That's the only likely scenario with how Samsonov played and Joseph Wall, his emergence in the playoffs. I still understand what Dubas was doing. It made no sense. Anyone that watched Murray and his injuries and the $4.7 million cap or his real salary just didn't make any sense. One of his dumber moves as Leafs GM.
Yeah.
They got to buy him out. What are you going to do?
You have to. Or get someone to pick up a tab, but then you got to give another first-round pick.
Well, you're also probably going to have to eat some salary as well.
Yeah.
No, just buy him out.
Just buy him out. You got to.
Call Pittsburgh. See how much Kyle Dubas really likes Matt Murray.
Yeah.
I like that.
You think he's going to – oh, yeah, no, I still have faith in him. Yeah, sure you do, bud.
Yeah.
All right, I don't think that's –
somebody who's done absolutely nothing and keeps getting a raise in Kyle Dubas.
Yeah. We see that a lot. We see that a lot in sports where guys just – I don't know.
I'm sure he's going to end up being a really good president or GM or whatever he wants to be, but he's really done nothing.
No, president's the best job in the world.
Yeah. But he wants to be like a hybrid, Barney. He wants to be like a president / GM. I've never heard of an assistant GM being announced before a GM. They bring in Spezza, but no GM, which makes me think
he's the GM.
Dubas wants both roles.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
I don't know. We'll see. He might be coaching by the end of the year. Who knows? All right, down on the bench. Let's get quickly to the Blue Jays. It's a bit of a disaster right now. Alek Manoah is somewhere in Florida, which is probably a good thing.
Hopefully he's having some margaritas and just relaxing.
Yeah, and enjoying himself. Yeah. Vladdy has 2 home runs in the last 6 weeks, and one of them was against an outfielder.
Danny Jansen has as many home runs as Vladdy. Danny Jansen was injured.
162 games is a lot. But it's Panic City right now.
We're game 74.
It is Panic City if you're Toronto, considering who are the teams ahead of you. Mm-hmm. You got Shohei Ohtani and Trout in LA. I still think they're going to end up being terrible.
You see Ohtani's numbers? He leads the team in every category.
Every category. Oh yeah. By the way, I'm gonna go hit 40 home runs and all. By the way, I'll pitch every once in a while.
Love that dude.
Connor McDavid. Imagine Connor McDavid with like a sub-3 GAA and a 920 save percentage once every 5 days. Give me a break. This guy's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. So you got them. Then you got Houston. Obviously, a really good team, not playing to their level. Baltimore's sticking around. They ain't going anywhere right now. Texas has got the number 1 offense in the league, hitting like 350 with runners in scoring position. And, of course, Tampa Bay's already run away with the AL East, so you're not going to get there. This is panic time for sure. When your best player on offense is not producing and your best pitcher isn't even on the team right now, and it's not because of an injury, and it is a disaster. You just got a little bit of information you saw on Twitter that was possible that John Schneider might be getting traded. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a report. I'm not even going to say who, but it just popped up that apparently Schneider might get sacked by tomorrow, and Mr. Don Mattingly is going to take over, which I always thought would be the case at some point, maybe not this season, but I just don't see Don Mattingly coming in and not taking over the head coach role at some point.
Barney, you've seen coaches before in hockey or other sports that, look, you see this one going, this is the time me over, right? Like, this is the win before we go out and get somebody with a lot of, history. But wasn't that Charlie Montoya?
Yeah, and Charlie Montoya was fired last season when the Jays were 4 games above 500. They're now 4 games above 500. So we're in the same situation all over again. I think they're a couple of games worse than they were last season.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know, man. You get rid of John Schneider. He's learning on the job. This is his first job. You're going to go through these growing pains, and it's not all his fault at the same time either. I mean, you can't predict Alec Manoah in that situation. No. You can't predict, Jose Barrios being horrible last season and being better, but then throwing a game yesterday.
Yeah.
You can't predict Bassett, blowing up a couple of games. You can't predict Vladdy not hitting the ball. So a lot of it's out of John Schneider's control. So I don't know if you fire Schneider and bring in a new manager, Don Mattingly, I don't think much actually changes.
No. Barney?
The Jays right now are an 84 Chevette that just crashed, and they have $15,000 damage, and you have to decide whether you're going to repair it or just chuck it aside for the year and wait and buy a new car next year.
Yeah.
They're in no man's land. They're not going to sell off. And again, Manoah, you could have never forecasted after the year that he had last year that he'd be in Dunedin drinking daiquiris and pina coladas, collecting his salary. So no one would have predicted that Vladdy would have this kind of slump and they wouldn't be able to hit the ball. You put all those things. Hey, Kikuchi's had a good year so far, 6-2 pitches tonight, but there's not much they can do right now. I don't see them making a change and gassing Snyder and bringing in Mattingly. Not this year, not this early, but there's not really much they can do except for hope that they turn it around. But this year seems like it's slipped away and it's gone, and the Chevette's just going to have to wait to get put in the dump yard and see if Manoah can come back next year and return to form, and they can find their bats.
And they have other priorities. They need to find pitching. If another starting pitcher goes down, the season's over.
Yeah,
the season is over.
Mitch White coming in?
Oh, my God. Ernie Clement was pitching up there, throwing meatballs at guys. It was unbelievable. So they got to find a pitcher, and they probably got to find another bat as well and figure out, hey, Matt Chapman, you're going to start producing again?
The Jays didn't have a 3-up, 3-down inning the whole time. And Ernie Clement was 1 out away from getting the only.
Did you see those batting cage pitches? It was unbelievable.
EP fastball. Let's go. Look, and the only thing, maybe the only saving grace to all of this is last year around this time, it was, what can you sign Vladdy for? 350, 400. Like, what is it going to be? I think you can get him a sub 300 right now. And I think
he can still turn it around.
But I think this is the time you move in.
Well, thank God for Bo Bichette, I should say. And you should probably mention, listen, they're a game out of the wild card.
Yes.
Thank God if the Jays for 3 spots. 3 wild card spots, or else it's a wrap.
They got the Marlins, and I think after this, in some order, they have the White Sox, the Tigers, the Giants, and Athletics.
If somehow they can win the next 2 games against the Marlins, they go 4-5 in this road trip. It's not that bad.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, everything. It's that meme where everything's on fire. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
I don't want to give my pick of the night then.
Oh no, you got the Marlins.
You got the Marlins. What are your picks tonight, Barney?
That's not a bad bet.
Decently hot.
Yeah, I was till I bet the Jays and Barrios, and then they get smashed 11-0. I got the Marlins.
I had the Jays on the run line yesterday too.
Yeah, I got the Marlins -120, and I got the Jays over 3.5 runs. I got the alternative line, so that's at -135, and I got the over 8. -120. I think there's going to be some runs today.
Is it Alcantara on the mound tonight? It
is,
right?
It's Perez.
Oh, Perez
v. Kikuchi.
Okay, Kikuchi.
1.80 ERA for Perez, 4-1. Kikuchi 6-2, 4.31. So I think they find their bats today.
Yeah, okay. Kikuchi gives up runs. He's probably giving up a home run, which he usually does.
Yeah.
Luis Arias went 5 for 5. He's going to go 5 for 5 again, probably.
Unbelievable, batting 400 right now. Ridiculous. All right, well, Barney, you're all geared up, ready to go, and you're going to hit about 8,000 golf balls before your tee time later this afternoon at 5:20. Dude. You thought you were in the final pairing of the U.S. Open, so that's why you decided to tee off at 5:20.
5:20, that's right. I'm on West Coast time, and I will probably be asking you for a chipping lesson as I get over and get on the practice green. The difference between me teeing off at 5:20 and the rest of the guys at the Open is I'll probably have 4 beers in me before I get off that 5:20 start.
Nice.
Yes. Hey, listen, whatever gets the nerves relaxed. That could be part of the chipping problem, right? You get a couple beers in you, the hands all of a sudden get loose, and you're getting up and down from everywhere. All right, Barney. Well, thank you very much. We will see you on Thursday, and play well today.
Yeah, $15 Heineken's coming your way. Cheers, boys.
All right, take care. All right, when we come back here on the Parlay Show with Bet99, we're going to talk some NBA draft, and we're going to talk about a big trade between the Suns and the Wizards. Bradley Beal on the way with Noor Zainab coming up next. Welcome back to the Parlay Show. Rob Conway, Albert Vartanian, and Matthew Barnaby out, and Noor Zainab from Hoop Talks and from right here at Homestand is in. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me and you guys. Nice to see you.
It's nice to be seen because I've been away for a little while. So yeah,
Bobby's having some trouble with his IFB today.
I am. Yeah, that one threw me off a little bit. Right when we start the show, it starts to pop out. But we're going to talk some NBA here. We had some big news over the weekend, obviously with a trade involving the Wizards and the Suns. We have Bradley Beal heading to the Suns to create a new super team. Chris Paul is on the move back the other way with some picks as well. Right off the bat, what are your thoughts on the deal?
I don't really like this for the Suns. I think the Wizards were put in a spot where they kind of had to do this. We just talked about this earlier too, where this is really, I think NBA is a players' league, and giving Beal that no trade clause put them in a really bad position where they kind of just had to go and do it. And he came out, he said, I want the Suns. All they could do was go and get the Suns. That's why the asking price back was not the best either. You got Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, not even a first-round pick because they gave up everything to get Kevin Durant there. So they had nothing else to give away. So now you're looking at this team where the Suns look great, I would say, on paper. You've got they kept DeAndre Ayton, which is great. They still have Devin Booker. They've got Kevin Durant, and now you've added Bradley Beal. But there's 3 guys that take mid-range shots, and there's only 1 ball. So I'm wondering how this is going to work out, and there's no defense at all. And the worst part is there's only 6 guys on contract right now for the Suns, with Campaign also coming off the bench, but the rest of the guys are on a minimum contracts. So even if they went out and got someone else, the depth isn't getting any bigger unless they go and trade Ayton out somewhere. But I don't really know what Ayton's market is right now.
Yeah, it's surprising that they kept Ayton. I can see them flipping, but it's so interesting what you said about like the defensive side. They hired Frank Vogel, who's a defensive coach. You have to assume at some point too on offense, one of these players, whether it's Durant, Booker, or Beal, might be like, I need more touches.
Yeah.
Like, who's the alpha on that team now? It's still KD?
I would say, well,
it's got to be.
Even last season, that short window we saw with KD on the court with the Suns, it kind of felt like more Booker's team than it did KD's. And Booker was the one handling the ball most of the time.
I was just going to say, I think the Suns, even the way that they built everything, and even with KD coming in, he made sure to let Booker know this is still your team. This is still your shot, and you do what you got to do. And it made sense because Booker was familiar with the team. He knew the roles. He knew where people had to be. But I can see Kevin Durant, like, he's not going to just sit back down, not take the shot. He will definitely take that shot. But in terms of the ranking, I think Beal would be last. Just because his 3 points also kind of gone off. He only can be really a threat in the mid-range. And then you got to look at the team as a whole, where you've got 2 guys in Durant and Beal who can easily get hurt and have a pretty bad reputation in getting hurt over the past.
All 3 of them, Noor. That's the thing,
and
right?
DeAndre Ayton too, and Booker.
They're all going to miss tons of games. How many games did KD play for the Suns last season in the regular season? 8 games, I think?
Yeah, exactly.
8 games. I think Beal played 50 games last season. Booker maybe 6. Like, these guys are going to miss games. Listen, it all comes down, I think you'll agree with this, to the postseason. 100%. I think if, let's say every other game, one of the big 3 now misses a game, I think they still make the playoffs. They probably do. And then come playoff time, after all this load management that's going to go down in Arizona, you get all 3 together, and that's where you got to make it count.
The worst part is, though, for me, I don't know if they'll make the playoffs, because let's say one of these guys goes down.
Really?
The depth is going to be a very shaky thing, because who can step up if one of these guys goes down?
That's why I think.
And the West also is super stacked, too, right? So think about how stacked the West is. Kawhi's going to come back. He'll be better. Then you're going to have Paul George, who'll be healthy as well. And Nuggets just won their championship. Not sure what's happening with the Warriors. We'll get to that. But they're not going to be, like, getting off the bandwagon just now either. No. So I'm looking at them, and I'm like, I don't know if I like this move. And I want to talk about, can I bring up Kevin Durant for a second?
Yeah.
This is what, like, his 7th or 8th super team. And what's
there's no player next season who has more pressure on him than Kevin Durant.
I don't think there's been any player ever who's had more pressure ever. And I honestly think that, like, his legacy is going to take a hit with all these super teams he's forming and not being able to do anything with it, and only having something come out of that 81 team with the Warriors that really got somewhere. So I'm looking at Kevin Durant and I'm like, this is your legacy.
See that Golden State team, that and the Miami team with LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, those are legit big threes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
He's a nice player. He's good. His contract may make him seem like he's a superstar. He's not.
What?
He really isn't.
Bradley
But back
Beal.
to the depth thing is huge, and I think that's why maybe you agree with this. They flipped DeAndre Ayton to get some of those pieces, because the question is now, what about their bench? And you can look at that two ways. Yeah, they need some depth, but then you look at the Denver Nuggets in the finals and in the playoffs, they ran a pretty tight rotation of like maybe seven or eight players. And the Phoenix Suns last season were like midway in terms of bench scoring. So maybe it's not that big of an issue, but when you have three guys who miss so many games, you're going to need someone to come off the bench.
Yeah. Well, we saw that with the Lakers, and they have that issue. They had that issue before the deadline when they added a bunch of depth pieces. But I guess my question for you with this, and we'll get into the draft coming up in a second, but you talked about Kevin Durant having all that pressure, all these super teams. And I think one of the things that certainly lacked in Brooklyn, is leadership around a big three, because like you said, they're all going to want the ball. And when it's LeBron James, it's kind of like it's Tom Brady. You know what I mean? Like if Tom Brady doesn't throw you the ball, you don't go up to him and say, hey, why didn't you throw me the ball? Because I have 7 Super Bowls. That's why I didn't throw you the ball. And LeBron James can say the same thing. But with these guys, is there a risk of not really having a leader in that locker room to be able to say, guys, this is the way we're going to play. Let's just allow this to happen and build together. You're not going to be able to put up 25 shots a night every single night.
I think locker room is everything. Someone who runs the locker room is everything. And if you look at KD's past, it is the biggest story. It tells you right there. Like in Brooklyn, he had no one to run any kind of leadership. And you've had Steve Nash there, but they kind of went and handpicked Steve Nash, him and Kyrie, and they brought him on. They were like, actually, we don't like you because you don't like to listen to us. So there's never been that self sense of accountability with Kevin Durant or any of his teams, and especially just in NBA in general. If you look at the Raptors too, last season they failed so much was because they had no real voice in the locker room. And you can have as much talent as you do, but until you have someone that can set the discipline straight for everybody, you're not going to get anywhere. And looking at this team right now as well, I don't think any of them are going to take the lead unless it's Devin Booker, who maybe he's going to garner some level of respect from his teammates because he's been there longer. But beyond that, they're going to be like, Kevin Durant's telling me something, Bradley Beal's telling me something, I'm good. I'm all right.
Listen, Frank Vogel might be the right guy. I mean,
That's
he
true
did
as
this
well, yeah.
in LA with LeBron with the bubble title, right? So he's dealt with LeBron and AD. So maybe it's not going to be that big of an issue. I feel like we'll call it a big three, but really it's Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, and then it's everybody else. Let's just be honest. That's the case.
That's a fair point. All right, let's get over to the draft Thursday night. Victor Wembanyama is now stateside after finishing up in Europe. Obviously, he's going number 1. He's going to San Antonio. Greg Popovich get an opportunity to, create this 7'4" specimen that just does everything when it comes to basketball. Are you excited for where he's going to go, who he's going to be coached by? What are you most excited about seeing with Victor Wembanyama whenever he does make his first start for San Antonio?
If the NBA did rig this, they did this perfectly. You have to send him to Spurs. It can't be anywhere else. And it's also because if you look in the past with all these amazing draft picks, the number ones that got selected, they kind of got put into really bad spots, and especially in Philly with Markelle Fultz and also with Ben Simmons, where talent is not enough. You have to pair them with the right resources and the right people that know what requires them to what you need to give them to get the best out of them. And Spurs is the best spot. They've been known for their development. They've had the right pieces on there the whole time. And Popovich is a big factor there too, because the respect that he garners on top of just the experience that he has in this league, I think is also nearing signing another extension, bringing Wembanyama. So you can tell he's excited and he can't wait to get this new era started. And on top of that, just Wemby and the force that he is, we haven't seen anything like that before, averaging a double-double in France already, and having him come back to the league. I think this is probably the most excited anybody's been in terms of the draft since maybe LeBron.
Probably. Listen, you have a guy who's 7'5" who can dribble, he can shoot the three. He can do everything.
And very effortlessly with his height, like very gracefully. You're never thinking like, oh, he looks like slender man, maybe too tall. No, not at all. Like the way he's moving, it just always seems to fit perfectly for him.
And this isn't 20 years ago, so it's not going to be difficult for him, at least I don't think, to adapt to the NBA.
No,
it's less physical. But the thing is, at 7'5", the guy, he's still young. He's still growing. I want to see how he fills up and how his body holds up. Like, who was the last guy who was like 7-something plus that...
Maybe Giannis.
That was hype. Yeah, Giannis, but even go back to Manute Bol. I know this is a long time ago.
Yeah.
But his body, his knees didn't hold up.
Taco Fall.
Right? Taco Fall. Player, right?
That's true.
But I think it's 2023. It's a different time. He should be able to take care of himself. But
there's
been no player coming in who's even close to what he has physically.
I just want to see if a guy the size of Dwight Howard just lays his shoulder into his chest and see how he reacts to that. That's the first question with his frame.
Stay away from the Morris brothers. I think he'd be all right.
Like I know he's going to be a wing a lot. He's not going to play a lot of center or anything. And if he has David Robinson and Tim Duncan around to help him guide the way to play down low, he'll be fine. But I would like to see when he goes up against someone that big.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, and it's definitely going to be a new experience for him coming into a league where, like, okay, now it's the big guys, it's the actual superstars of the world, and Giannis and Jokic and Embiid, like all these actual big men for the center position. But I don't think it's going to be anything that's not going to make him be the guy that he is. If anything, it's going to take that as a lesson and get bigger, get better, go in the gym more often. We saw that with Giannis. Giannis was very small when he started out. He was
skinny.
very, very, very skinny, and look at him now. He's like a bulldozing machine. He runs the Bucks offense himself. So I think it's going to be a learning thing for him, but there's no way that it hasn't started already for him. Like, I think that already those conditioning, those workout routines, those meal plans are for sure being just given to him by the Spurs staff because they know what they're doing. As he said, Tim Duncan on the staff was like one of the best centers of all time. He's going to be given the right resources. And
it's a different league. This is the era of the point center. These guys aren't banging down low like they used to be, right? Even Embiid.
Yeah,
he can pick up the ball at the three-point line. He can shoot the three. Look at Jokic did.
Yeah.
So these centers, they need to know how to play in every single role. He's going to stretch guys out all the time. Maybe on defense, he might have some issues, maybe under the rim against a guy like Embiid.
Exactly.
But for the most part, I think he's going to be super comfortable in the NBA, man.
Yeah,
I really do.
Real quick, before we let you go, obviously, Toronto, we're here in Toronto. We were talking outside the studio.
You seem sad when you said
before
that.
the show. Well, I just got back from the West Coast. And so we're talking, the Raptors move up to 3 with Portland and all that stuff. And I guess it's a two-part question. There are players at the 2, 3, 4 slots that the Raptors, if they moved up, could select. Obviously, Wembenyama is going number 1. Do you think Masai is going to be busy? And if he is, if they move up to that 3 spot, who do you think he's going to take?
I think in terms of being busy, I feel like Masai is going to have to. We never know with him. We always get told like he's going to go one way and ends up always going the other way. But look at Scotty Barnes, look at Jakob Poeltl, look at Christian Koloko. It's always been the other way. But in terms of going and getting this deal done, I feel like it has to be the right pieces and the right trade offers because we've seen whatever he was offered before, and he knows that he thinks he knows what the players are worth, and if he doesn't get the offer that he thinks they're worth, he's going to turn that down. And in terms of maybe perhaps getting that third pick, I could see him targeting someone who can maybe run our offense, maybe in Brandon Miller, because we need to have someone who can have the handle the ball, pass the ball around, especially if maybe Fred's leaving this offseason. We're going to have someone who can move everything around because Gary Trent's not really a facilitator. He's more of a shooter. And then I'm not sure Malachi is going to get a second running right now. We'll figure out when the season gets going. But I think their main target right now needs to be a point guard position.
It's so hard to figure out what Masai's thinking. No one ever knows.
No, never.
I think the main question is what's the plan? What do they want to do? Is it rebuild? Is it retool? Is it not? Because based on his comments, remember, I think it was right after Nick Nurse got fired, he did his presser, Masai Ujiri. He was talking about parity in the league. And essentially, like, you don't have to have all these superstars on your team to make a run, a la the Miami Heat. So when I heard that, my thinking is, wow, this guy has something up his sleeve. There's something that's going to come, whether it's a trade. I don't know if he's going to trade up in the draft. That could possibly happen. But I just feel like with Masai, based on those comments, he's probably going to make a move to hopefully make this team better to make a run next season. I really do.
Well, he's going to have to. You've got 3 players who are coming up on contract in Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr. I think Gary Trent Jr. is actually going to have his contract opt-in day either today or tomorrow.
Right,
so it's going to be happening very soon. And then Jakob Poeltl, and he did kind of miss the bullet with the Jakob Poeltl trade, having to go get him when you could have gotten him the year prior, the year after.
He has to resign him now.
You have to. There's no other way. But you also got to think, like, does he really fit the team that you want to build? So that's what I'm questioning.
Whatever that team is.
Whatever that team is. And him bringing in Darko, to me, shows that okay. And then bringing in, the Jama from the Warriors, it shows that maybe we're going towards development. But you never know with Masai Ujiri.
Nope.
You
Listen,
can't
the
guess
last time
anything.
he fired a coach was Dwayne Casey. He brought in Nick Nurse and made a massive trade.
Yeah.
I don't know if we got to follow the same trend
or not.
And won
a championship, so.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't figure out what this guy's thinking.
You said, what's the best offseason in sports? It might be the NBA.
It is.
It may very well be the NBA. Noor Zainab, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Enjoy the silly season that is the offseason for the NBA. And that's been the Parlay Show. I'm Rob Conway, Albert Vartanian. Great to be back, and we will be back on Thursday. Take care.